It's 4 o'clock on a Monday, and you know what that means, don't you? It's time for another exciting episode of Taxi TV Live. Woohoo, baby! This week, starring special guest stars, Mr. Michael Lloyd, and the always late Rob Chiarelli. Woohoo! And once again, Rob is late. And thank you, fake band. Thank you, fake audience.
He's late, but not forgotten.
No, he's stuck in an Uber on the 101. Hi, Michael. How are you?
Hi.
I love it. What the hell kind of handshake was that?
Well,
I know you're holding a pen. It's hard to hold two things.
And by the way, in tribute to Rob,
yes,
just going to tap the pencil.
Chiarelli's never been on the show. There you are. Chiarelli's never been on the show without tapping his pen right in front of the microphone. So I put a note on a piece of paper in front of the microphone that says,
"Don't tap the pencil."
Right.
Or whatever it says. Yeah, don't tap your pencil.
Anyway, so that's that. But you know what? Rob should be here any minute because he's in an Uber, and the Uber says it's going to be here at 4:05, which is exactly 1 minute from now. Well, no, actually, by this, it says 3 minutes from now.
Yeah.
So I am going to tell you guys about today's show, because how often do you get to hang out with two, like, you know, there's producers, and then there's platinum or gold level producers, and then there are producers that between them have somewhere around probably over 200 gold and platinum records to their name. So that's today's show.
When are they getting here?
You've got over 100 now, right?
Oh, like 120.
Okay, so then we have
Yeah, it's
like,
just whatever.
Right. All right, so I am going to read Michael's bio, and I'm going to read it really slow so that Rob
can drift in.
Yes, he can. He always drifts in that one. Okay. Michael Lloyd was vice president of A&R for MGM Records by the age of 20. That is pretty unbelievable. And for more than 45 years, has been producing,
give or take a decade.
Has been producing hit records, soundtracks, earning more than 105 gold and platinum awards, a diamond award, and selling over 170 million records. He's buying me a new house soon.
You have no idea how hard it was to buy all those records, the room it takes. Oh
Neil Young did that once with a record that I worked on him with. He comes the time he bought 200,000 copies because he didn't like the way the mastering went,
right,
or the pressing. Anyway, some of the artists Michael's worked with include Barry Manilow, Mike Love and the Beach Boys, Sugar Ray, Lou Rawls, that makes me jealous, Sylvie Vartan, Sean Cassidy, Belinda Carlisle, the Monkees, the Bellamy Brothers, the Osmonds, Donnie and Marie. I always laugh at this one, Striper, and how he's going to say they were awesome.
Hey, they were great. Let me tell you.
There you go. Sammy Davis Jr., how impressive is that? Bill Medley, the Righteous Brothers, Debbie Boone, Kimberly Locke, Air Supply, and Frank Sinatra, just to name a few.
Keep going.
I just want to touch it because you worked with Frank.
Is there more?
No, it says just to name a few.
Oh, okay.
So he was the music supervisor for the film Dirty Dancing. He wrote the Latin dance music for the Patrick and Jennifer to dance to. And produced the Dirty Dancing soundtrack album. He's also done the scoring, the music supervision, the songwriting, song placement, and or producing music for over 200 motion pictures, TV movies, TV specials, and television series. His chart record spans 6 decades from the 60s to the present. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, Mr. Michael Lloyd. Yeah, baby.
Thank you.
And now for our next guest.
And he's just showed
right
up.
on cue.
Right on cue. I had them prepped. Hi, Rob.
What's up, fellas?
Hi, don't tap your pencil. Okay?
Look at your piece of paper in front of your seat.
Why? What's wrong with my...
Because every time you're on the show, you tap your pencil right.
He wouldn't give you one. He wouldn't give you one.
That's all right. We'll go by memory.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, so the Rob Chiarelli has joined us. He's not really on camera. Rob, can you scoot in? Guys, I need you both to scoot closer to me.
Settle down. We're talking here.
I know, but I want you in frame so the audience can see you.
Wow.
Okay.
See, that ain't going to work. See,
my camera adjustment tool.
Yeah. Okay.
There we go.
As long
as I
I'll
lean
lean this
like
way.
that,
Yeah,
we're
that's
good.
good. That's a little disturbing, but okay.
All right, and now
It's backwards. It's weird.
Yep, that's the camera. All right, Rob Chiarelli is
Oh,
an
stop.
American.
Can we not do
No,
this?
I have to.
No, I like it.
have to
I want to
because
hear because I was
YouTube
curious.
exaggerate
I was
it.
No,
curious.
but no, YouTube likes this. If I don't say this, YouTube doesn't like the video.
Well, you exaggerate everything.
No, I didn't. I'm not even going to mention the number this time.
Don't say any of that. It embarrasses me.
Rob Chiarelli is an American record producer, mix engineer, and musician. Published author, wrote a book on playing bass. What's the name of that book?
Playing bass.
The Electric Bass Bible, Dexterity Exercises, Volume 1.
Wow.
How
There
about
you
that?
go.
Wow.
Volume 1. Did you ever write Volume 2?
I did. I have not sent it in to, what is it?
Okay, he's a published author and he's a multiple Grammy Award winner. He's widely recognized as a music producer for Will Smith and Men in Black 2. Rob's work appears on numerous gold and platinum albums and motion picture soundtracks, including 9 Grammy winners. As a mix engineer record producer, Chiarelli, as we call him, has worked with such well-known artists as Will Smith, Christina Aguilera, LeAnn Rimes, Kirk Franklin, Mary Mary. She liked her name so much he went with it twice.
Yeah.
It's a they, but it's
They,
cool.
Janet Jackson. Didn't you used to work with an artist named Mary Mary?
Yeah,
A
that was
different
it.
one.
Different.
Yeah, but
Different
how many
girl.
people have worked with Mary Mary twice? That'd be like Mary 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 Mary.
That's right.
Very, very squared.
Janet Jackson, I've heard of her. Jermaine Jackson, Stevie Wonder, Keiko Matsui, Coolio, Ray Charles, American Idol, Pink,
Enough already.
Johnny Matthias, Johnny Mathis, Paula Abdul, Diana Ross, and Vogue, Ice Cube, Four Tops. Yeah. This is from his website. You can go there because he gets embarrassed when I read it out.
It goes on.
It
Some
does.
more.
It does. Anyway, hi Rob. How was
What's up?
that ride in the Uber today?
Good. He was gassing it, or else I'd have been even later.
Oh, jeez.
Well, in this episode, now you get to ask 2 record producers any questions you want, and we've got
do
some
it.
that came in.
All right, I have
On
a few
the
questions.
internet.
I do have questions for you guys. If I get to ask questions, and
Okay.
I get to ask 2 record
Okay.
producers.
Okay. All right. That's good. I like that.
Let's see. Okay. Yes, I will give you a shot to ask your
Okay.
questions, but not at the beginning of the show.
Yeah. Okay.
Rob made it. Yeah. Woo-hoo. Okay.
First, I want to say, welcome, taxi people.
Yeah.
By the way, these
Great
guys
road
were
rally.
awesome at the road rally this year.
We
Both
were.
these guys
We
just
were.
knocked out of the park. They do
You
every
were.
year,
We
but
were
this
you were good.
We were
You,
great.
my friend, have a gift.
What? No, you. What
You.
was
No.
what was the thing? I concur.
I concur.
Oh my gosh, that was so great.
I always feel bad. These two, I always put them together on the last panel of the road rally, which we affectionately call the happy ending panel because we're happy that the rally is ending. Anyway, every year we have 1 or 2 people that have never been on that panel join us. And the looks on the faces when you're sitting out in the audience like I am looking up at you guys, the looks on the faces of the new people on the panel once we get rolling is just like, what the hell am I doing
What am I
here?
How did I get myself into this?
What am I doing?
It's pretty funny. They look scared. They really do.
Really?
I can't remember who we
Those
had on
guys
there
were
with.
great.
They were good, I thought.
I
thought
thought
they were
so.
really good this year. I thought they were. The funny thing is, I thought they were more comfortable.
Yeah.
The new people on the
Well,
panel.
anybody. I just thought some of the older ones and the new ones. I thought they were comfortable.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it-
great.
I thought the whole thing felt real comfortable this year.
It did.
For
Great road
them.
rally, by
For
the
them.
way.
I mean, for
Thank you
Rob
very
and
much.
yeah, for Rob and me, it's always pretty comfortable. But I thought they felt more comfortable. I really
Okay.
do. I did. I felt
Not as
that.
comfortable as Ron Harris felt 2 years ago when we had the
little
yeah.
alcohol.
One of our panelists. I didn't know that one of our panelists had never had a drop of alcohol in his life. And one of our members, a guy named Jan Bars from the Netherlands, brought me this alcohol that you can only get in the Netherlands. I saw a TV show about it once. So he brought me a bottle of this stuff, and it's kind of like cinnamon-flavored liqueur. So I poured a shot for everybody in the last panel. We're all exhausted. We thought it would be fun to have a little drink, to cap off the weekend. Ron Harris got so plastered, it was awesome.
Yeah.
Ever since,
Right.
10 years ago or something, on the little, guys, when you're
There they are.
Okay, when you're at a convention and there's a panel, they have like little place names, things that share your name. Okay, on the back of them, that's the back, and it could be white or something. And so one year, Rob was saying things that they weren't that nice. And so I wrote on the back, "Be nice." Now, every year he writes on my paper, "Be nice." It's literally the funniest thing in the world. Anyway, he kind of had to be there.
Well, you're nice.
Oh, God.
No, I'm glad we've got that worked out,
so
guys.
fun.
So let's start with the first
Yeah,
question,
good.
which is from Stephen Carey Bruce. He says, "Hi, Rob and Michael. I love you guys. Thank you for your fun and
I love you
compassionate
too.
way you educate us. Question. I have a Martin tenor ukulele, or as we say in Hawaii, ukulele.
Oh, wow.
It sounds best being strummed at the 14th fret, meaning my hand and wrist are in front of the sound hole. How do I mic it in my home recording studio?"
Wow, he's playing up here?
No, he's strumming up there.
Oh, he's strumming here. I'm sorry.
If it helps in your answer, I have the Townsend Sphere microphone with all the mic models. I can't say that I even know that microphone.
Yeah.
Do you record ukulele a lot?
I have. You want to take it?
No, go. And we'll both say something.
Didn't you
So-
work with Hoku? No?
Well, I use it on a lot of Beach Boy records because Brian used to use it.
Well, I'll tell you what. So here's what I do with any instrument, right? Is that I'll listen to find where the sweet spot is. I'll move around and then I'll put the mic right there. So those of you who have never mic'd an instrument, that's an easy way to start, right?
Yeah, unless it's a Marshall cabinet.
There is no sweet spot.
Well,
No, your hearing will be gone by the time you
Yeah,
figured out where to put the mic.
What mic do you use?
it depends on the instrument. I like to hear a great mic for that stuff is the Shep CMC5, which I like on acoustic guitar, and the uke, it sounds great. But you can get a good uke sound. It's not like you need
You can get a good
a 47 or
You can
something.
put a 57 on it. It would
Okay.
probably sound fine.
So-
What do you like?
Okay, so this goes back, probably influenced by Wrecking Crew times. So the ukulele, Brian used to use like on Wouldn't It Be Nice, and all those. It's on there, and now he would put it with other instruments, but that's what gets kind of this weird sound. So anyway, since there weren't a lot of mics that they had available in those days, because you only had consoles that had like 12 inputs.
Only Mike Lloyd and Mike Love.
Yeah, right.
Just
So,
saying.
but anyway, so they only had like Gold Star, and Studio 3. They didn't have. They had small consoles, and they were round knobs. And so anyway, a lot of times they just stick a dynamic mic on it, and some of that was because of leakage, because it was all done at the same time.
that makes sense,
6,
yeah.
7 guys, and so they would put a dynamic mic on it. So the times that I've been recording ukulele recently is I play it in the control room, and I will set an old RE20 microphone on the console that I use for acoustic guitar and singing and everything. And I just sit it there, and then I just play it.
You should call your next album Electro Voice.
Yeah, exactly. And I just play it. And
Not a bad idea.
and so now I've got a Fender ukulele, and then I have some kind of a Hawaiian ukulele that's a nice ukulele. And they sound different because the Fender is kind of a tenor ukulele, right? A little bigger, and the other's smaller. But so I haven't, and I'm doing this alone, so I don't have too much the opportunity to screw around with it and find that. But Rob is saying what you really do is that's really what you should do with all kinds of instruments, is listen, like you just said, find the sweet spot. And maybe you try a couple. It depends on your microphone availability, right? Maybe you try a couple of microphones. But
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the modeling microphones personally.
oh yeah, I haven't used those much.
They're
Speaking
okay.
of
I'm
modeling-
not going to throw them under the bus.
Yeah,
but
I haven't used them.
I want to plug a product.
Okay.
Is it a modeling mic?
No, it's this thing from Moore in China.
What is it?
It is the Moore, I forget the model
It's
number.
like an amp modeler, right?
It is an amp modeler, and it's $400, and they sent me one. I got to say, I love this thing.
Is it so it's not controlled by any computer thing, right? It's all hardware.
It's hardware, but you can control it with an app on your phone.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
So the good people at Moore sent me this, and I wouldn't plug it if I really truly didn't believe it
Do
was
they have
awesome.
any more of the Moore?
I tried to get them to send me one to give away at the Road Rally. I got to tell you guys,
Oh, look at that.
this thing, people are comparing it to the Kemper.
No way.
Yeah, they really truly are.
Wow.
Let me
Yeah.
see the front.
thing is awesome.
Oh, it's heavy. It's
a
weight to
solid piece of gear.
preamp live.
Yep,
Really feel
that's what it's
It
called.
has-
The
it has
Moore
size to it.
Preamp Live.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they
Ever
didn't
rock
pay me
them
to
in?
say that. They did send me a unit.
So
but
so
again,
what
I
what
wouldn't-
determines how do you select to what to
By pressing these it's a
Oh, I
stomp
see,
box, but
I
it
see.
works well in the studio, and
Wow.
everything is dynamically adjustable, and it's got all kinds of
and it has
inputs.
an XLR output too.
Yeah, I barely use this thing
USB.
because the Road Rally was coming up, but I
Wow.
got to tell you, the little bit that I've done just plugging in my
Wow,
Strat and
very
listening
cool.
to it on headphones,
Yeah.
the thing sounds amazing. And
Oh,
it's
oh
built
yes.
like
Oh, see, that's interesting because you can use it on headphones if you were someplace and you had to. Oh, very
There you
nice.
go.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Okay,
Nice, very
so
nice.
anyway,
So anyway, ukulele. So that's the.
I want to.
Rob is talking about it as if you're really recording something. I do it because I have no choice. But he's talking about that's the right way to do it.
So you guys, I'm sure, remember the legendary record producer Tom Dowd.
Of course.
Aretha Franklin,
Oh, yeah.
Clapton, Allman Brothers, all that stuff. So I was at Criteria Studios, my alumni in Miami, a couple of days before the Road Rally for a reunion, and just a bunch of amazing engineers, producers were there. And Tom Dowd had passed away years ago, but his daughter was there. And so at some point I was getting a tour of the new updated Criteria, and she was a couple people behind me in this line of people getting the tour. And I walked into one of the studios, Studio B, and I'm telling the story about how I was working as the assistant to the assistant engineer. It's like the first 30 days I worked in the industry on a record called There's One in Every Crowd by Eric Clapton. Tom Dowd was engineering and producing on it. Everybody was leaving to go to lunch or something. He said, hang out with me. Okay.
Wow.
So I didn't know anything about anything, and he says to me, you want to know how to get a great acoustic guitar sound? And I said, yeah. He goes, okay, then get down on your knees. And I turned white. And he goes, not for that, you idiot.
Wow.
And so he said to me, get down on your knees and move your ear around. He said, tell me when it sounds good. So I'm down there, and he's strumming like an open G chord. And I go, right there. He goes, okay, that's where you put the microphone. Now you know how to get a good acoustic
Wow.
guitar
And
sound.
were you close to the instrument or?
I was about a foot away.
Oh, so you were moving around in the vicinity of the actual box.
Yeah, and
Wow,
you
that's
could tell
really
just by turning your,
interesting.
and all of a sudden you'd hit the sweet spot and you'd go, wow, it
So
sounds
do you-
amazing.
Do
so
you do
put
that
the
for an
microphone
acoustic
there.
guitar too, or
I
the
do.
same
I do
kind
it.
of thing?
Yeah, I do it with everything.
Yeah,
Can
no,
do it
Except
on
the
my
Marshall
face.
cabinet.
Well, come on.
That's really good. See now, guys, he's telling you stuff that you're not going to learn anywhere because everything's programmed. And you wonder, oh, a guitar. Wow, what do you do with this? And so you just kind of stick a mic there. Well, should you have the chance to record an acoustic instrument, whether it's a violin or a piano or whatever, he's telling you things that are invaluable. This is stuff it just doesn't happen
Most books
today.
won't tell you that.
No, they don't happen today.
All right,
It's not complicated, though.
No, it's
It
not.
seems simple.
It does, but it is complicated to someone that isn't at all familiar with the process. You know,
Right, okay.
what's the patch for a piano? Oh, I don't like that. What's another patch? Oh, okay, that's fine.
Don't tap the table by the microphone. And remember, be nice.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay,
Micro
moving on.
piano's a whole other thing. Go ahead.
Moving on.
Yeah.
Margot Malia Music wants to know, that's an odd last name. Can you sense or hear artistic talent of a singer/songwriter through an okay recording quality? Should an artist get professional recording and mastering to help? And can great music get away with being recorded at home? PJ Harvey recorded an entire album on a 4-track. Thank you. Hello from Saratoga Springs, New York. Well, hello, Saratoga
I
Springs.
hope you're on the.
Lots of good questions there.
Yeah, so let's
That's a
start
good
out
question.
with, can either or both of you guys detect amazing talent on a crappy recording, a mediocre recording? Let's go with mediocre. Like, it sounds okay.
I think so. I mean, let's look at the opposite. If you put me on $1 million microphone and $1 million tape recorder and let me go to town singing, you're going to know that I don't have it, right? But if you put Paul McCartney on an SM57, you're going to say, well, that's the guy, right? So you can take it from there.
I think that if we're in this business, one would hope that we have the ability to hear through certain things. Not just that, but maybe a bad demo of a song. Maybe the song isn't there, but whoever put together the demo is cool. and we'd like to know who that is.
Right.
So I think that talent and abilities are things that don't get disguised. Now, if someone was recording on some horrible thing that has scratchy noises and things like that, and you can't discern it, well, okay, obviously.
It have to be pretty scratchy.
Yeah, it had to be pretty bad. So I've heard all kinds of things over the last 100,000 years that that have been all over the place, and I know that Rob has too, and that these kind of things, sometimes that's how you find the great stuff of whatever it is.
Diamond in the rough.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I would say don't do the best you can. Don't worry about mastering, but do the best you can to present your work, whatever that is. But concentrate on vocal and song.
Yep.
You know, the recording, do the best you can, but you know that's something that perhaps takes longer. But you know,
first few weeks of Taxi, I got a cassette in the mail, and all it said was like Mrs. Johnson on it.
Yeah.
No phone number. Oh, and it had the name Boyfriend was the title of the song. No phone number, no email address. I'm not even sure email was invented yet. And I put this thing in cassette player, hit play, and it was 3 women. They sounded like they were African American. They were amazing vocalists, and they were just doing a hip hop beat on a table with their hands.
Oh, wow.
And you could hear the kitchen. And they sang this song called Boyfriend. It was a rap song, and it was just friggin' amazing. So I sent it to Craig Kalman at Atlantic Records. I think he was like VP of A&R at the time. Maybe he was already president level by then. And he said to me, I would sign this in a minute. Get me in touch with these people. I couldn't.
Oh.
I was never able to find them. And it sounded like they recorded it on a realistic cassette deck in mono, you know. I mean, it was just,
horrible.
but it didn't matter because the song was so good. Their voices blended so well in the spirit.
No one ever knew who they were.
Nobody.
Oh my gosh.
All right, moving on. This
That's
one's
horrible.
from Sherry Lynn. I'm at a point where I can get a pretty solid production and mix, but still can't get that extra little je ne sais quoi of a hit record. Very few people can. What are your favorite tricks for intermediate mixers to get a mix to really pop? That's a good question.
Rob will know this.
How do you add? Is there a je ne sais quoi?
Is that French?
Yeah.
Portuguese?
It's French. Because, you know me, I'm multilingual. I actually...
Multi-talented.
I flunked French 101 4 years in a row, but I can say je ne sais quoi like a mother.
You know, it's an interesting question. You know, mixing is kind of trippy because sometimes, you know, I feel like the less I do, the better the mix is. You know, less is more sometimes, and other times I have to kind of carve things. But I think that I get asked similar questions, and I'm sure I've answered in a number of times on Taxi TV about mixes, and it's the vibe. It really is. I mean, it's the vibe of the song. It's not the audio perfection of it, and that's easy to sort of lose sight of. So I'm answering this in kind of a roundabout way, but you know, if you listen to Tequila or Louie Louie or some of those records, I mean, they are not engineering marvels, you know, but the vibe on there is great.
That you can't even duplicate now.
You could never replicate how that record feels, and I think that that's the idea is that we try to go after. I'm sure you agree, but I'd like to hear what you guys have to say. We go over about capturing that moment and the vibe and the spirit of the thing, and I think it's easy to get caught up these days in the technical part. Once you have the vibe, guess what you do? Print it.
Yep.
Don't mix it to death. That's how I approach it. What do you guys think?
I couldn't agree more, but I didn't know that until I worked with Neil Young, and he said to me, you spend way too much time worrying about faders, knobs, and buttons.
It's Barry Manilow. We'll have to call. That's incredible. That's incredible.
Anyway, yeah, Neil said to me, actually on the Comes a Time record, he said, you can no longer use a limiter or equalizer. I want you to listen to the performance and capture the moment.
I love it. What do you think?
And you?
I think that the reason that those records were so great back then is because no one postponed decisions. So
That's a quotable quote.
yeah,
I love that.
Right, you had to commit
When
because
I cut a vocal, I punch it and I'm done. I don't have 30 tracks to comp
Really?
next week.
Yeah.
No chance, man.
yeah,
I make the decisions.
right. You got to make decisions, and so as time went on, from when I started mono and stereo,
Yeah.
right, well, you there weren't any. You couldn't postpone anything. You did it. Then 4-track came along, and it was like, oh my gosh, 4-track. What are we going to waste so many tracks? And then 8-track, 16, 24. Certainly, you would never need more than 24 tracks, right? Certainly never. Then it was locking machines together. For Dirty
48.
Dancing, I locked 3 24-track
Are you
machines
kidding?
together. So I think they did that on Queen stuff. I mean, they locked machines together. But 48-track was very commonplace. So and then when digital came along, well, now you've got kind of unlimited tracks. It's not
Yes, you do.
48, it's 123. So all that did was postpone decisions. When I was there with Phil Spector as he was recording Love and Feel on the track,
Oh my God.
there was a room full of musicians, and the room was not big, Gold Star, so it wasn't big. A couple of drummers, a couple of percussionists, a couple of keyboard players, maybe 4 guitar players. I'm doing this from memory, and I'm not too sure because it's a little hazy. A couple of bass players, maybe 3 bass players, all in the same room. And again, remember, just a dozen microphones.
Yeah.
So sometimes you had one microphone kind of on 2 percussionists or whatever. And they would have them play it and play it and play it. And they would, adjust the mix so they got it just right, whatever it was. And then they would record it. And it was mono, just mono.
Yeah.
So
Well, they had to get it. They couldn't come back
exactly. They
next day. And
they couldn't come back next day, nor could they say the next day or later that day, geez, could we raise the bass a little? No. It's, you can turn the bass control up. You can get more, but there's nothing to do. So they would get it so that it felt, to your point, that it felt just right. And then hopefully as they push the button, they'd play it all the way through without a mistake. But getting back to Louie Louie, there is a mistake in Louie Louie.
Plenty of them.
Yeah, but the singer's going to come in. He's going to come in. He comes in at the wrong spot and towards
That's
after the
right.
solo. You hear him start to sing, and oh my gosh, it's the wrong time. They never went back and changed it.
That's great.
Oh
It's
no,
true.
it'll be okay.
So that's your final answer: is go for the vibe and go for the performance, and don't worry about all the knobs, buttons.
Yeah,
and,
if you can get that's the all we're trying to do with knobs and buttons and plugins and all this is to somehow fix something or somehow enhance something or whatever, but don't postpone if you can avoid it. And I get caught up in it. Just don't postpone decisions.
That's a great piece of advice. I've got to say, I've been doing this a long time. Nobody's ever put it quite that way.
Good.
I got to show you something if I can find it in 10 seconds or less, because you brought up Phil Spector.
Oh, is it the pin?
Even better. It's a Christmas card from Phil. Somehow I got on Phil
Wow,
Spector's
that's
Christmas
great.
card list.
Is that from prison?
Yeah. Phil sends me Christmas cards from prison every year.
Is that wrong?
Thank you, Phil. I love you, dude.
Listen, I love Phil too. I mean, when I met him when I was like 13 or 14 at Gold Star, I remember once him listening to the track of Love and Feelin', and it was this weird area outside the studio, and there was a Altec Lansing 604E speaker in this gray box. That's what everybody used.
Right.
And he was like right up on it, just like this, listening, And I guess it was part of the mastering area or something. I have a confusing thought about it.
Yeah.
And it was all mono, and he was just listening so intently to it, And you've got to think, what an incredible genius, right?
If he could hear anything from a 604,
Well, but that's what everybody.
That took a certain amount of genius.
But
Doesn't
what
suck.
a genius! And,
Sorry, Altec.
and then with Clive Davis or with Geffen or who knows, lots of different people, Irving Azoff, these genius guys, that somehow molded things. But again, it was even when the Eagles were making records and all, it was 24 track, and they never postponed
Right.
decisions. They had to do
That's
it.
because Bill Simzik, their engineer, grew up,
They had to do it.
He's
They had to do it. The
as old
Beatles
as
had to
him.
do it. They had to do it. Anyway,
All right, next question. So yeah, there's your answer, Sherry Lynn. You know what? There is no magic mix button. It's all about the song, the performance, and probably the arrangement.
use your ears.
Less is more.
Use your ears.
Suze Doyle says, I spent my teen years playing from the 1990s through the big band era.
Wow.
From the 1900s, sorry, through the big band era. So that's what she played. The music of this really oldies era has lyrics and melodies that continue to be relevant today and work well, whether performed by everything from full big bands and orchestras to simple solo voice/single instrument.
Yeah.
Music from the 60s through the early 2000s also stands the test of time for similar reasons. However, it seems as though the trend of current popular music includes repetitive chord changes and more limited melodies that are very production and percussive/beats dependent. Roman numeral 1, do you think music can be interpreted by multiple styles of musicians, including solo artists and simple arrangements, or do you think it can translate well to future generations?
Do you think that music, what
Do you
music
think
she's talking about?
current music?
Oh, current music.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
Okay.
I don't think it's you can duplicate it. I think it's all it's so record dependent and
Right.
sound dependent. And is that the cool snare drum? And is that the right loop? And is all of this? I think there are very, very few songs today that can last a long time because of that. It's not a judgment thing. I'm not disrespecting anybody. I think it's just the nature of how things have evolved, and that's why you hear songs like she's just saying. You hear songs from eras long past that are Coke commercials, or the commercials for some other thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Some other thing.
Right.
I think that is I think that's one of the biggest problems with today's music is it's not. I don't think it has the legacy effect. I don't think it has that. I think it's very short-lived.
I agree. When I say that, I feel like my father looking
I know,
at me,
I know.
watching
Me
me
too.
listen to Beatle records.
I know.
And I wonder if it's just a generational thing. But yeah, I remember when grunge came out, saying I wouldn't want to be the publisher of that stuff because you'll never get a cover on any of it. I have heard 2 good covers of "Smells Like Teen Spirit" and a few others, but for the most part,
So
that's kind of a
rare.
dead zone
So
of
rare.
stuff to cover because
So rare.
the songs just weren't.
I have an
Coverable.
article. I have an
Thought I
article.
was going to say not that good, right?
No,
I wouldn't
they're-
do that because I get a
No,
bunch of nasty
it's
emails.
it's coverable. And here's something.
Don't play it
No. It's
because
this
if you
came
play
from.
music, then
No. This is. I'm just going to read something.
Oh,
Just
okay.
even the headline. Millennials prefer music from the '60s to recent hits.
There you
Study
go.
finds. This is from February of this year, and this came out of I guess the UK. No, it was even in New York. All of this stuff. 643 participants between the ages of 18 and 25. Blah blah blah. Maintained a steady memory of top tunes that came out between '60 and 1999. And I think that, and that could be all kinds of music. Obviously, it's not just one thing. But what that shows you is that music does have the legacy effect.
Yep.
And unfortunately, maybe the nature of how people write songs now, they don't sit down at the piano or guitar or something like that generally and write a song. Someone comes in, well, what's the beat? And then they do a top line, right? They put a melody on top
It's
of
tough
something.
for songwriters that actually write a song these days to break in. You got to be part of a crew or a
It's-
posse or
or part of the 11 people that
Yeah.
are writing the song. So no, I mean, what do you think about that? About the songs from today being, would you hear them in Nordstrom's on the piano 10 years from now?
Generally, the piano in Nordstrom's drives me nuts. But I think
That's where I met Chuck Henry, our probably highest income earning taxi member, was
Oh,
under an
wow.
escalator playing piano in Nordstrom.
Wow.
Anyway,
awesome.
yeah.
I think there are great songs now, and I think that they're going to stand the test of time. But I think that a lot of it is production driven and it's disposable. But There was a lot of disposable music in the '60s too. You know, I feel
Hey, man,
like
don't pick on "Hang On, Sloopy," okay?
Yeah, but
I
it
love
was
that song.
but it was disposable. It was disposable, but somehow it still lasted. Some of those one-hit wonder guys, they still lasted. And my fear is, outside of maybe an Ed Sheeran song or an Adele song or maybe a Taylor Swift or maybe a Bruno Mars, when you start getting into some of the other type of things that don't have, it's more of a record. They
Well,
don't.
now
have
that you've said it in those terms, I agree. Yeah, I think that
I mean, there are obviously some, but
Yeah.
it's not near what there was. And this research, when I read it, I thought, I was shocked actually, because I didn't think that'd be the case.
Yeah.
And but I have met I just met a 13-year-old kid at the rally when we left. I met him at the rally. He was there, and his mother and father are teachers, school teachers.
Okay.
And this kid, I said, what kind of music do you like? Oh, I like Leonard Skinner. I like Allman Brothers. I like blah blah blah. That's what I listen to.
Is that the drummer kid?
No, he's a guitar player, singer, had long hair. Named Owen. Anyway,
Yeah, I remember him.
you remember meeting him? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I saw him the other day, and this is all that he aspires to,
Wow.
is that. And when you hear him sing, he's 12 years old. When you hear him sing "Ain't No Sunshine," I mean, he says, "This is what I want to do."
Oh.
Now, I'm not saying everybody should be that way or anything. I'm just saying that those influences are much more vast than I would have thought.
I would give up half of this finger to record a record like Allman Brothers,
Oh, yeah.
Eat a Peach. I love bands that can play a song from top to bottom with the full band.
All
and
at the
just-
same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I fantasize.
concept.
Rob introduced me to a studio in North Hollywood called Sphere, I don't know, a year and a half ago or something.
Is that the
And-
one I went to?
Yep.
That has all the
Oh
guitar
yeah,
amps
you were
and
there
stuff?
with us. Yeah, that's right. And I love that room.
Oh,
I
it's
just,
great. Yeah, it's
I
great.
get excited. I am that guy when I walk into a restaurant. I clap my hands.
Yeah,
Go,
it
wow,
was
that'd
great.
make a great studio.
It was great.
Sphere sounded right to me,
Yeah, it
and
did.
I would love to get 5 pieces live in that room for a Saturday and just go play some songs, guys.
Well, the other day, Barry had a session, just
when he says
one
Barry,
song.
he means Manilow.
And he had Greg Fields playing drums, Chuck Berghofer playing stand-up bass,
Yeah.
who was playing guitar, a guy named Ken Berry was playing guitar, an incredible guitar player, and Randy Waldman playing piano. So all 4 of those guys, and it was a
Why
kind
did
of
Barry have somebody else playing piano? That's funny.
well, he can listen,
Okay.
and because Barry's a great player, but
Yeah.
he has to listen. So this guy copped what Barry was playing, and it was a kind of a jazzish swing thing. My gosh, it was great. Anytime you can get these legendary guys, I mean, Greg's Grammy winner producer, not just a drummer, and you get these guys together playing, oh my gosh, it's like incredible. Now you understand what music is all about.
Yep.
You know, it's just fantastic.
Man, we're getting old that we miss that stuff. But
Well, no,
you're right.
I think that. I mean, studies like this that say that people like those songs. Well, they sound a different way. It's everybody playing, in large part.
My daughter Hannah, she and I love to go hang out in my car in the driveway and just crank it up. And she will go to the store. We actually go to the record store, and she'll buy me 5 records. I'll buy her 5 records. Then we go sit in the driveway and just crank it up in my car and listen to. And the
What
stuff,
record store do you go to? Just
Barnes,
like-
Barnes and Noble, because
Oh,
there's one close to our
that's
house. They
right.
still sell
They
CDs.
still sell
But we'll
some
sit there
CDs.
and listen. And she almost always picks classic rock, and she says this stuff's just more listenable.
Yeah.
She loves pop hits, but by the
No,
way,
I do too.
Hannah's on her. She's over the Atlantic as we speak.
Oh,
She called me yesterday and said tickets
wow.
are half price. Can I come home for Thanksgiving? So
Oh,
the
that's
kid is
great.
on her
That's
way.
great.
Excited.
Now, by the way, everybody's, let's not forget that folks sample these old records.
Right.
And there's been a generation of that too.
That's
so
true.
it is highly influenced in the music of today.
Yeah,
So
well,
That's a
that's
great
true.
point.
It's true.
not just sample, but the influences that Bruno
No.
Mars, for example. Or,
Black Eyed Peas did a version of "Time of My Life." My record
Yeah.
from Dirty Dancing. They did a nice job.
All right. Bob Gunnerfelt wants to know, do you have any advice for an old rock and roller? Oh, we're back to the old rock and roller thing. To help compensate for tinnitus, or tinnitus as the doctors call it, when mastering, the constant white noise is a challenge.
Oh, geez.
Don't listen so loud, man.
Yeah.
Well, it's
Turn it
too
down.
late now.
Yeah. Well, there's treatment. I mean, you can try for certain things like that. There's that I've read about. But gosh, I don't know. You can't. We're not going to have too much knowledge about how to compensate for that.
Surprisingly, a fair amount of tinnitus can be cured by actually going to the ear doctor and getting your ears deeply cleaned. People don't realize that. There's a lot that can't be fixed that way. A friend of ours had it really, really badly, and she spent $20,000 with a doctor in Beverly Hills, and the guy put some electrodes on her head and dosed her with all kinds of mind-altering substances, but it worked. She is actually tinnitus free. So, wow. Bob, sorry, unless you got 20 grand
laying burned out from all the LSD.
Well, yeah, he was giving her super doses of Xanax or something.
Yeah, there is a dark side.
She's now asleep and doesn't even know she's still got it.
Yeah, exactly.
Don Longheed wants to know the top 3 things that make a song incredible. That's a good question. What are your top 3?
I
think we've actually covered some.
The vibe.
Yeah, I mean, if you're talking, that's of course if you're talking mechanically,
it doesn't say. Just 3 things that make a song incredible.
1, the title.
Okay.
2, the emotional connection, right? The emotional connection. So now that can be a lot of different things. That can be "When I'm 64" by the Beatles, which is not a prototypical love song, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Or it could be that song that was out, Say Something. What was that? About a few years ago, is that what it was called? Mm-hmm. I saw the video on that song. I liked the song, and I saw the video, and the video was this simple, heart-wrenching video that just drew you into the song. So presentation is, of course, very important. So I know that's not a song thing. Still, you've got to present it in a way that someone that's not musical can identify with. So, I mean,
it has to resonate.
It has to resonate. So that gets the vibe. Yeah. That's the vibe. And whether it's the lyrics or the melody, you'll get. I remember the old thing on American Bandstand, because Dick would have a thing called Rate a Record, and they'd have 2 kids up there, and they'd play a record, and they'd say, "Well, so I give it an 80 because I can dance to it." That was an old phrase that everybody's had, right? So sometimes when you're asking someone to be a critic,
right,
you'll get all kinds of different explanations of why they like something. But I think the emotional connection. Diane Warren writes songs that just you identify with. The lyrics, go with the melody, all of it. So I don't know. The vibe.
Yeah,
right?
It's the vibe.
Maybe that's the whole thing.
It really
the vibe.
is.
The vibe.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Rob said it at the beginning. Just the vibe.
Fair enough. Bruce Edwin Lee wants to know if you'd written and recorded over 100 songs. If you had written and recorded over 100 songs with another 70 or so waiting to be recorded, what would your approach be to getting heard?
So if you had a bunch of material recorded, what do you do?
Yeah. I've got an easy answer. It's kind of
join
obvious.
Taxi.
There
you
go.
You're already in Taxi.
Not necessarily. But he could just be on the email list.
He's got to get some way to expose it.
Yeah.
And he's either got to make a bunch of lyric videos or something and put it up on YouTube, or he has to get with some people that that expose stuff. And I don't know many, but Taxi. So he's got to get to some place like Taxi.
The problem is he'll pitch these songs that he's got 100 songs recorded. He probably recorded some of them 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, and he's going to pitch them for listings that are looking for current material, and they get frustrated. So you might not want to join.
Well, the thing is about it's hard because as a writer or a producer, you put out this body of work, or you have a collection of songs that you've done, and it's hard, but the truth is you have to be self-critical to begin with, and you can't think that everything is great. So if you've got 100 in the can and 70 to go, I mean, can you pick 3 and really dial them in? And that's a hard decision, to choose which ones, when you hear the Beatles and their outtakes, and we're always, whenever there's a question, turn to the Beatles and a few others, the Stones and the Beach Boys and stuff. These guys did it consistently well. They made the decisions, right? They chose the best material. They got the best performances. So I think one of the things that I've seen is that everybody tends to think that their music, right, that their work is, each song is equally good, right? They're just, and it's not. Mine certainly isn't. Yours isn't. Yours isn't. Nobody's
Every
is.
one of mine is great. Every
Well, there's
one.
my point.
It's
You gotta pick a few,
it's like
and
your
then you gotta
kids, you know,
lead.
you
It's like
can't
your
say you
kids.
like one kid
No,
better
it's
than
hard.
your other one.
It's hard.
But
it's
you
hard.
gotta- you gotta-
Yeah,
you
you
know.
have to be discerning.
You really do. And then when you feel like you have it, you have to leap.
Yeah.
You do. And it's dangerous and it's uncomfortable.
Well, and if he's got these songs and he has recorded them over a period of time, that could be okay if he indicates them. Look, this would be for a movie or a project that is interested in this.
Right.
Because that can be very valuable. I mean, I've done a bunch of movies where, oh gosh, let's just say they wanted something like Louie Louie.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and they're not going to be able to afford Louie Louie. So they want something like it.
Right.
Okay, so it
A
has
similar vibe.
Yes, it can't sound like a Today song.
Right.
So you got to find somebody or create it that has that vibe, that has that sound, right? And it can be just in a bar, right? So it's not like necessarily featured right out in front. It's a disturbing fellow.
He is.
He's just so disturbing.
They're not playing Hangman. Let's just say that.
This is my body of work, and he's now anyway. So anyway,
I'm sitting with two 5-year-olds.
Okay. Children, I work with children. So but anyway, that can be very important. So perhaps a Taxi, I know Taxi would get things that aren't just necessarily today. It's a movie.
We've got the number
1980.
one, the number one publisher of vintage music looks for. I would
Yeah,
say
see
a
that?
big chunk of their catalog has actually come from Taxi members and gets more placements in film and TV for our members than any other single
So
publisher.
that could be a big reason.
Yep.
But
They've
be
cornered the
discerning on
market
that.
on
Be
vintage.
discerning on that.
Yep.
One little tidbit.
Yeah.
So when I say 100 and you got 170, people have asked me, "Can I send you some songs?" Yeah, but they send me 100 songs.
Oh,
like
right,
you
yeah,
got to
right.
pick 3.
Right.
Put your best stuff
Take
forward.
a
let's-
week off and
take a
just listen
shot.
to all their music. 'cause
Yeah, that's a great.
You
that's
got
why I have
nothing better to do.
do, right?
No.
No, but if I hear one, you see, everybody that I've signed, everybody, it started with a single song that I fell in love with.
Right.
And then the question is, and I said this in the panel, can you repeat that?
Yeah.
Can I get another one that's equally good?
Right.
The lyrics is every bit as solid. And then if I see a third one, then I know, okay,
Right.
now we have a pattern. It's not just a mistake, right?
Just got an email this morning
That's a
from
good
a
point.
member that saw one of our listings that was for a label looking for artists, and the label said, please send 3 songs so we can see if you've got any depth in your catalog. And this member used to be a member 15 years ago, has my email address, sent me an email this morning. I got it like 6:05 a.m. said, do you guys put those listings in where they're asking for 3 songs just to get $15 out of us?
Oh gosh.
Yeah. It's like, hello, I'm going back to bed.
Ooh.
Okay, number 8. Hi, there is some discussion about exclusive. You know what? This is about exclusive and non-exclusive agreements. And it's not really apropos for a production engineering discussion, so I'm going to say this one for...
No, tell me. I like those kind.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, go for it.
There's
Go
some
for it.
discussion about it. Not some. There's a lot of discussion about exclusive and non-exclusive publishing since the advent of TuneSat. What is your stand on this? Will publishers and music libraries only go for exclusive contracts in the near future?
Music libraries won't. And even people that place songs in, that are like the, not agents, but, facilitators.
Right,
of
they are
getting-
agents.
Yeah,
They're
of
just-
getting it out there, highly paid agents, of getting the song into Days of Our Lives or
Right.
whatever. Well, but for music publishing, like Sony Music or
Right, the
Warner
record
Chappell,
industry's version of a publisher.
That kind of a publisher, Cobalt, all these kind of independent. The days when people used to get writer deals,
Mhm.
and you got to write 10 songs or things
Right,
of
here's
that
$100,000 a year, turn in 25 songs, and
much harder for that now because of the way that songs are being written. And if you're not, getting back to your point, part of a crew or
Yeah.
part of something, right?
camp,
then
whatever, yeah.
something it is. Then it's going to be very hard for you to do that, and then your publisher's not going to be that excited about you being 1/11th of a
right,
song.
because which part were you, the hit part of it, or were you and also ran in?
Yeah, I think that if you can get someone to run with your song on a one-off basis or a two-off basis or whatever it is, and there's several places like that,
Mm.
well, that'd be great. Obviously, you can't put the same song with 5 different places. None of them are going to do that. But, you know,
on
you
the
got,
record side of the industry, you could. On the film and TV side, there are
it's hard.
libraries that will take stuff.
Yes, on libraries.
Yeah.
Libraries can do that. But if it's a song, here's "I Love You, Baby," and I need to try and get it in a movie, TV, commercial, something like that, you're probably going to have to go with someone exclusively because of the nature of it. If you got 2 people doing it, and they both pitch it to Coca-Cola, which could easily happen, and it comes through, who is the one, right? So that's
I've asked
tough.
this question at the rally,
That's tough.
and as recently as this past rally, 3 weeks ago, I asked the question, and I said, I was on a panel with a music attorney, Erin Jacobson, and I forget who else I had on the panel. Anyway, I said, isn't it just the first person that crosses the threshold? I mean, you know, there's usually a timestamp in one form or another, whether you're sending it via disco.
It's messy.
It is messy, but
That's
it's
messy.
It's not
tough.
optimal, but it is figure outable.
I don't think a lot of people would. I think you'd have problems.
Nobody's going to dig that.
Yeah.
They won't dig it, but there haven't been a lot of lawsuits about it. I agree
I don't
with
think
you.
there are a lot that happen
Um,
because they sign things. If you're going to do it, if Beth is going to represent something,
right,
she's going to do it exclusively.
that's true. But there are also a bunch of libraries out there working non-exclusively, mostly on instrumental
You know,
cues
for
because they're
music,
inconsequential.
yeah, that's right. I think of music libraries as the instrumental stuff.
Okay.
So that's my fault. So I'm thinking of that. That happens all the time.
Yeah.
We do it, Greg and I. So that's happens all the time. But the songs more challenging, messy.
It can get messy. Nobody wants a mess.
How do you determine when a song is finished? That one is from William Peter.
Well, it's about postponing decisions again. You can postpone. Yeah, if I could just get that tambourine in the second bar. I'm telling you. I listen to mixes of mine now, and I've sent off things that it's final. Then I'm listening in the car, and I think, my gosh, the kick drum in as it leads into the chorus, that 4th beat it's how did I not hear that? It's not anywhere near the right beat.
Have you ever? My experience is every single record I've ever worked on that when I've never heard anything where I go, that's perfect. Ever.
My old stuff, the Osmond stuff and Lou Rawls and some of those old things, and even Dirty Dancing and stuff, I don't look back on that and think that we could have done it any differently.
Yeah.
However, with the advent of Pro Tools and never having to commit, I find that it's a curse for me. It's horrible.
Rob, how about you? How do you know when a
That
song is finished?
damn tambourine.
It's got to feel great. It just has
Yeah.
to have the vibe. And
Yeah.
I'll tell you, it's the imperfections that people remember.
Do you guys come back the morning after you walk away? You go home for the night thinking, okay, that's a wrap on that, and then come back the next day and listen to it one more time, or do you not?
Perfect question. I got to tell you, that has changed over the years.
Yeah.
So if I was in the studio 20 years ago, we had tape running or a digital machine, and the clock is ticking. And the clock is ticking at $300-400 an hour when we're mixing a record.
Yeah.
And you have to make a decision. Is that tambourine hit on the 3rd bar of the out chorus a tad rushed, and you willing to spend $300 to fix it, or you
Right.
say, is the record company going to approve it? And
Right.
you make that decision. You see, it's not, then you're forced to make your priority list and knock out those things. Generally, starting with the vocal.
But
But today, this is this endless cycle of
hell.
chasing the unimportant. Could that reverb be just a tad darker?
Right.
A tenth of whatever longer, right?
Stop it.
And the answers to all those things is yes.
Oh.
They can be all of those things, and you can mix the hell out of it, and you can mix the vibe out of it.
Yeah.
When it feels good, whether it's a lyric or a melody, I mean, you got to know it, and that's one of the hardest things, is to know when it's done. You have to feel it. It has to resonate with you. You have to know instinctively that you've got the moment, and you have to be wise enough to not kill it. And I've been in studios where I've watched it go down the toilet. I could see them reaching for the handle, and that toilet started to flush. And the song went right down the toilet. And luckily sometimes we do come back the next day and we say, man, we flushed that thing right down. Let's start again, or let's go back to...
that's absolutely right. That's happened more times than...
You know what had happened to me? When the A&R guy from the label shows up at the end of a mix. And all of a sudden the band goes into second-guessing paranoia. And the A&R person only has to say one thing. Do you love the vocal in that? Just that is enough to send the whole thing right into the toilet.
You just nailed something that everybody should know.
Which is?
And this is important to me. Is be careful of the person who plants the seed of doubt.
Oh, gosh.
Beware. I should write a book called Beware.
Yeah, write that one down. Combine it with the last thing he said about a minute ago. Those were gems.
That takes root in the whole thing.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't even have to be the A&R guy. It could be the assistant who used to work at Trader Joe's.
We got stories of this stuff. And it's happened. It's not like this is some arbitrary thing.
No.
This is real.
This is real. And it's in the movie business, and it's in the publishing business, and it's probably in every business. But in creative businesses, the seed of doubt sprouts like it grows like a palm tree, in like that. And they can say, yeah, I played it for my assistant. Sally likes music. And, she thought the bass was kind of loud, huh?
Here's maybe the greatest example of this ever, but I won't tell you the final
And you're not
outcome.
going to please everybody, by the way.
When I was at the Criteria reunion, we were talking about when they were making Saturday Night Fever, which they did there, and there was a cleaning lady. There was a whole family. I can't remember the husband's name, but the wife's name was Idali, and they were from one of the islands. And they were the sweetest...
Did you say hello, Dolly?
Idali. And it was the mother, the father, and their daughter. And they would usually show up like somewhere around 11, midnight, and a lot of times acts were still working through the night. So the Bee Gees were working on Saturday Night Fever. I was listening to the story be told in a little circle of like 6 of us. And I think it was Barry Gibb that invited Idali into the control room, saw her out in the airlock and said, come in, what do you think of whatever it was on the record? And she voiced her opinion, and they changed it based on what Idali, the cleaning lady, said. So you're right. It's just the seeds of doubt.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Okay, moving on to Kate Magdalena Willens wants to know, hi, I just made a great record out of Nashville, mostly originals, great producer and great players. Would love to hear your guidance on marketing it and how to get it heard. That is the big question all the time, isn't it? I think we answered this already earlier, so I'm not going to... but we answered it earlier. Right?
Social media. She's got to kill social media.
And you can't just make a Facebook page and a Twitter account and Instagram and just put it up there and a couple times a week.
You got to work it. You got to work it and work it and work it. There are ways to develop followers, and you got to work it and work it and work it and work it. Because you got to get noticed somehow. It's a stamp of validation to anybody in the business. They're going to say to you, so what's going on with you? And if you're not opening for Kenny Chesney, I don't know if this is a country record or not down in Nashville, but if you're not doing that, well, then it's social media, because they don't really care that you're playing for 50 people at a club downtown. They're going to look at social media, and if you have 100,000 views, well, okay, that's better than 5,000 views. If you have 1 million, that's better than 100,000. And they, a lot of times, they're trolling all social media. All these companies are trolling to see what's happening.
Yep.
And
they're looking for smoke so they can pour gas on it and make it into a fire.
Exactly. So it is a big deal. And in some ways, it's a great opportunity. I was just talking out at our college out at CSUN, and to the master class out there, and somebody asked a similar question, because everybody is interested in trying to get noticed, right?
Yeah.
To get noticed. So we talked about it, and there's not a lot of other ways. I mean, you might luck into getting a song in a movie, which would get you noticed, perhaps. But whatever it is, social media does offer an opportunity. It's not easy.
It's a combination of many things on all levels and working at it like 12 hours a day or more, 7 days a week.
Absolutely.
You can't expect to give somewhat of an effort because you're going to get somewhat of a result. Yeah. Like my dad always says, if you treat it like a hobby, it's going to pay you like a hobby.
It's good.
Yep.
Yeah,
I mean, this business is a grind, man.
oh,
Yeah.
geez.
People think that I can just be talented enough because I think I'm super talented. My family and friends think I'm super talented. So, some point, somebody's going to hear me,
And
they're
you
gonna-
are super talented.
and they're going to think I'm a genius, and they're going to just like sweep me away on this magic carpet and make everything happen for me. But that's not really the way it works.
I didn't pronounce it right. It was trolling. I think he meant trawling. No, trolling. They go on the internet and they troll for things. That's the deal. Yes,
don't be so
casting an
anal,
act.
damn it.
Yeah.
Relax.
Sorry
Take a
about
chill
that.
pill.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, Greg Utek wants to know, hey guys, this is great. Hey guys, I've had 15 forwards over 10 years and nothing. Help. So he means forwards from Taxi. We have sent his music to somebody 15 times over 10 years and nothing. Help. I was just a finalist in this year's USA Songwriting Competition in the instrumental category. I'm doing something right. I have good songs, and the critiques are always saying my songs would be great in a film or TV. What gives? So
Are they all instrumental?
he doesn't really say. He says 15 forwards, but he talks about he won in the instrumental category. So let me give this one to you, Michael, because you do music supervision. Let's say you run a listing with Taxi, which you obviously have many times over the years, and you're looking for a very somber instrumental piece that's going to be played as people are walking away from a gravesite at a funeral, and the family is heading back to the car to go home and mourn the loss. So you get 32 pieces of music forwarded to you from Taxi.
Here's the easy answer.
Yeah.
The composer is going to do that.
Well, I know, but let's assume the composer hasn't composed that piece, that's not in the score, and you're just, maybe that was a bad example.
No, but I'm just saying anything. It's very hard with instrumental music.
Well, not in a reality show.
Unless it's a music library in a reality show.
Right, well, that's
So-
what he's talking about. We're probably forwarding his music to
Okay,
music libraries,
well,
and why hasn't anybody
Greg
called
said
him?
a couple of very interesting things because when he's on the panel,
Yeah.
because he's so involved in it.
Right.
And not just from a standpoint of overseeing some songs or things that come in. He knows the editors, he knows the producers, so he's been in there, he sees what they do. And an editor will on his, the up and down arrow keys on the, on
Right.
the computer. So here's Q1.
Right, down,
And
play.
he'll listen to it for 2 or 3 seconds, 2 seconds, down, next one.
Yep.
Down, next one. Down, next one. And so it's horrifying, right? But
Horrifying for the people creating the music, because they
Absolutely.
would expect somebody to listen all the way through,
And they
because
don't-
they put all this effort
they
in.
don't do it at all. So
Right.
so the importance is knowing how to describe what you have.
In the
Very key.
In the title you're talking? Or in
describing
a-
like this is a and unfortunately right this second I don't know all the categories. It's like this.
Yeah.
It's not like tension. It's not anything like that. It's very descriptive. Billboard, hip hop, no vocal. Let's just say.
Right, and your metadata, so that they can see visually
Exactly what it is,
Right.
and they're being told by some director or producer or whatever, give me some of that stuff that's like on the charts right now. And then they're looking to find that because they don't want to scroll through a bunch of different categories that aren't really that descriptive.
Right.
So anyway, I can't tell why he unfortunately didn't get picked up, but the thing is being very descriptive, and building your music so that there are edit points,
Yeah.
right? Not just run on stuff, and you want to change. You don't
He's
want to have.
probably got that if we're forwarding him.
Yeah, maybe so, but you don't want to have 20 seconds or 30 seconds of the same exact thing.
Right. It's got to constantly
It's
feel
got-
like it's moving
It has
forward
to. It
and
has
going
to move.
somewhere.
It has to change. It's a real difficult beast, but there are a whole bunch of people that are becoming successful from that, and I would just encourage him to maybe listen to some of these reality shows that he might be interested in, and see what they're doing.
I've got an idea. Go to the road rally. Last year, we had an incredible video editor that showed how she picked the
Oh,
music.
gosh.
Laurel
I didn't see that.
Ostrander.
That
She
was
was
good.
amazing.
Oh, I
she
didn't see that.
she literally did 2 or 3 scenes from a reality show where she auditioned music live, just like she would do in her edit bay
Oh, wow.
and picked the music and put it in there and said, okay, so this has and basically she gave the answer, which is she listens to the beginning, and if she hears anything in the first couple of seconds that she likes and feels like it's going to fit the scene, they're not looking for the greatest composition. They're looking for the right composition that fits the scene.
Right.
Does it help tell the story? Does it help under?
It has to serve the picture.
Yeah, and I hope this helps this guy, because it's a slippery thing.
But what she does is she looks at the waveform, and she'll listen to the first couple seconds and go, okay, I can see by looking at the waveform that it goes somewhere, that it builds. So then she's got to like what she hears at the beginning, and then she goes, but if it's a flat line, she knows it doesn't do what you were just describing.
That's so horrifying.
It's not, because when you see her do it, you go, okay.
It is for somebody that's out there making this music, and they think that the 30 seconds.
They'll be looking at their waveforms before they send them.
Well, to some extent they should,
right.
because
right.
it's got to build and look like it's going somewhere.
Right, but she could be looking the next day for something that doesn't build.
That's true, but most of the time in reality TV, they're looking for forward momentum, they call it.
Okay. But the poor guy.
That's 15 forwards.
Hold on a second. There's an element of chance in this thing.
Yeah. And
you can't ignore that. It's not. It may not.
How
be
big is the element? Is it 2%, 10%, 50%, 90%?
99.997% is
really?
Chance.
You and I disagree wholeheartedly on that one.
The chances that I ever met you are in the trillions to one.
He can't get over that, how unlucky he was. So.
But when you send songs to an artist or anybody, are they going to listen to your song? Well, we hope so. But in the example, the lady just hit the button, and maybe that first one was the one, and his was number 3. So there's an element of chance that you shouldn't always think is reflective of your work.
Right.
Now, it could very well be that everyone's listened to the songs. We just don't know that. And maybe they discarded them because they thought they needed a different approach, maybe, or whatever. But there is this element of chance, which is, I think, what drives us all crazy. To me,
I don't disagree about the element of chance, but I think it's a small percentage. Because people want to believe that the music industry is a lottery. But you can't control the lottery. You've got no way to increase your odds.
Yes, you do. You got to get really good.
I'm talking about the lottery.
Throw the dice.
Right.
Throw the dice. It's all chance. Throw the dice.
In the music industry, yes. I'm saying in the music industry, it's not a lottery, because you can make great music and that gives you an upper hand.
Oh, I don't know.
Because a lot of people say, oh, it's just a lottery. It's just a matter of chance. Somebody else got luckier than me. Well, they got luckier because they wrote a better song. There's still some luck to it.
Luck is when preparation meets opportunity. We've heard this a million times.
Yeah.
But there is this element that is chance related.
I think your example's a great one, where somebody finds what they're looking for and the first thing they play, you're right, song number 2 or 3, never going to get heard. Then again, they might have to go to song number 97 before they find what they like, and you've been passed up a bunch of times.
And see, that's the thing of, is someone going to, let's say someone sends you a CD of, or a cassette. I remember I got a cassette of a bunch of songs, and there were, I don't know, let's say 10 or 11 songs, 12 songs, and I'm listening to the first one, and it was lame. And I pushed the thing. Remember on a cassette where you could push it, and once the music stopped, then you could fast forward past the thing, and then it would start again.
Yeah.
See the little gap.
Right.
Okay, so then I listened to the next one, and so on. It wasn't as easy as just skipping on a CD, but that's what we did. When I got to the 12th song, right, and I was really not interested. Once I listened to the second or third, I was done, really. I got to the 12th song, and it was Mad About You for Belinda.
Wow.
So,
well, I can't say that was a bad record. That was a great one.
But that was the element of chance that I just happened to be in a frame of mind to listen to
12.
Yes,
to
get to the 12th one.
Lucky.
And so there is the element of chance in that none of us can really.
It's also a numbers
figure out.
game. My point that I was trying to make with the guys had 15 forwards in 10 years.
It might be number 16 that gets it.
Right, and it's also 1.5 forwards a year. So I honestly think he's not pitching enough or not working at a level that's high enough yet that he's getting more forwards. Because getting on somebody's desk 15 times, it's like, wow, I've been on somebody's desk 15 times. Why haven't I signed a deal yet?
Yeah.
It's not a lot of times to, I know that doesn't seem like that to the gentleman who submitted the question, but there are taxi members that have a much greater output and they're consistently good because they've really honed their craft and they know what they're pitching to, and they've turned it into a bit more of a science, where art meets science and statistics class.
If it makes them feel any better, we got rejected a hell of a lot more than 15 times by taxi.
Oh my gosh.
And we just kept saying, man, we got to get better.
Right.
I mean, we got rejected dozens
He's talking
of
about
times.
the
Highfields.
Right, but what's the name of your entity with the Highfields?
We call ourselves the Usual Suspects.
The Usual Suspects, thank you.
I get rejected.
Do you want to
by
know
my
why we're
family.
called the Usual Suspects?
Yeah.
So many years ago, I had a #1 record on the charts, and I was visiting Sony in New York, the head guy, to be unnamed. And he said, well, why should I hire you to do records? I was with my manager at the time, and he didn't have a clue about me. And he said, why wouldn't I just go to the Usual Suspects and call so-and-so and so-and-so? And I'm like, well, because I have the #1 record right in my head. I'm thinking this, but I didn't have the guts to say it, And I was so shocked, and I'm going to remember this. It was so stunning to me. And I said, so when we formed our company, I said, we're going to call ourselves the Usual Suspects, So maybe we'll get a gig out of it.
Call the Usual Suspects. Here.
Exactly. So the next time he says that, here we are.
The next question is from Timothy Rodansky. He wants to know, have either of you ever searched for music from Taxi, and did you use it or sign anything?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, at the road rally, I remember finding something from some girl several years ago, and I said, I've got a movie I can use this in. And I used it in a movie.
Yeah.
Right from there. There wasn't
The one thing I've never been able to find you is your young Nat King Cole.
Oh, I know.
I've never stopped looking for that for
it's
you.
So hard.
Rob, how about you?
Well, we signed Elizabeth.
Oh, that's right. What's her last name?
Mall.
Mall.
Yep, great writer. We signed James Coach. Wouldn't sign James, but we work with James all the time.
Right.
And
he's now your VP
guys.
of A&R for your label.
He helps with everything. So
there's been great stuff, honestly.
All right, next one is from Jenna Galley, and she wants to know, are there any keys that work better than others beyond just doing what's comfortable for the singer's range? How much, this is a second question, so let's deal with that. Are there any keys?
No.
I wouldn't doubt that when Ralph Murphy was still alive, he probably did an analysis of how many songs were in a certain key because he studied everything else.
Yeah.
But
not to me.
Rob, anything for you?
No.
Do you ever find yourself in the studio saying to an artist, you know what? Let's take that up a half step because it just sounds like you're bottoming out a little bit.
Of course.
It happens all the time, but it doesn't. It's not like it's based on this range of the song and the singer. I like a lot of times if it's band stuff or I like open keys because they're guitar open keys, E, A, D.
So all things being equal, you won't go E flat, maybe go E.
No, but yet Fun's in E flat.
Okay.
So go figure, right? And he just liked the way the guitars played in that register. They didn't play an open E down here. They played an E in a different spot. It's crazy stuff. Brian did all kinds of things like that. But I like kind of open things. And Beatles songs were a lot of open tunings. They weren't playing in B.
The Stones, right?
The
Keith
Stones,
Richards and
same
his
thing.
guitar
because
voicings.
it's all based on guitar stuff, and so because they're guitar bands.
The only other consideration, which is a stretch in this day and age, is let's say you're doing a horn arrangement, you have to be aware of the lower register than the upper register of each instrument, a baritone sax, a tenor, stuff like that. You might.
I don't think most people understand they even have a range.
Yeah, a lot of people.
Play any note.
A lot of people
can you play that on a trumpet? It's not on a trumpet. Well, go ahead and play it on the trumpet. Yeah, it's,
A lot of people get a new string library, a beautiful orchestral sample library, and they're playing viola parts on the fiddles, and they
sure.
don't know.
Yeah.
The second half of this is actually apropos. How much time do you spend exploring different chord voicings before you cut a track?
I spend a lot of time thinking about the voicings if I don't feel they're right.
If I could go back in time, that would be something that I think I could have done a lot better back in the day. I rarely ever said to anybody, can you invert that? It never crossed my mind, probably because I'm not a great player, so I've never had to do it with my hands, so it never went into my brain. I would do it with vocal stacks. I could walk out to a piano and go, there's your note.
It happens with everything.
Yeah.
Voicings are a big deal.
Yeah, it happens with everything. We were just doing some backgrounds the other day, and could you invert that?
Yeah.
Right, just go up a step, go up a inversion, and that's great. So it happens all the time. Guitar, don't play it down there, play it up here, different position.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, it just all in everything. Now it's not so much in. Well, it could be in string lines, but that's more like octaves because they're single note instruments. A single note instrument, is a little different. You want that to be a high line, right, or a low line, and do you want the trumpet to be beep 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 or bup bup bup, right? So those things are different, but it's still a voicing. So I don't know. It's everywhere. It's everywhere in everything.
And voicings have changed. Like you can tell a song from the 70s because they tended to have particular voicings and chord structure.
Yeah.
For example, a lot of major sevens and things like that, minor sevens.
Yeah.
These days you do, but the voicings are different. You leave the fifth out these days because it makes it sound too bright. And if you listen, a great example I use when I'm communicating with musicians, one of them is a Beatles song. Once I had a way to get back homeward. Once I had what's that called?
Golden Slumbers.
Golden Slumbers. So the piano starts on an A minor, and the voicing is A, C, and G on top, with an A and octaves and A on the bass, I think. So there's no E in that chord.
Right.
Now play that opening piano and add the E. If you put the fifth into that, it sounds horrible.
Right.
Yeah.
It
can totally change the mood of something also, just by adding or subtracting a single note.
Right. It's a big deal.
Yeah, huge.
It's a big deal.
It's a huge thing. And see, now they weren't thinking about that. Paul McCartney wasn't thinking about that. He was thinking about just what sounds good.
Yeah.
It just sounds good. This is and it may just be the way he kind of plays. Because see, if you have an A, a C, and a G, right? He's just playing it like this, rocking it. Once there was a way. And then to get to the next chord, it may be that. It may be, he may stay on, I don't know, but he may stay on the same A because it goes to, I think, a D minor. But,
D minor.
So
adding a note as a passing tone to get to the next chord?
Well, no. He's what Rob is saying, you got an A, a C, and a G.
Yeah.
So all he has to do is, it may be that getting to the D minor is real pure by keeping the A, you move this to a D, and this comes down to an F. So it goes jang, gong, jang, gong, jung, gong. And that change of that voicing from this voicing to a more triad, inverted triad, could all of a sudden it doesn't sound like just someone pounding on the piano.
Do you have that? Can you hear that in your head without actually, like, I would have to go pick it out on a piano and go, okay, that's what I like. Whereas some people can actually hear it because their brains are wired that way. They can imagine what it would sound like and go there. Yeah, that's impressive to me.
No, I played piano for so long, but he's right. He's absolutely right about something like that. That you put the third in, not the fifth in, and all of a sudden it sounds lame. It doesn't sound creative.
Yeah, a lot of rock stuff. Let's say it's an E chord, right? Instead of going to a B major, maybe you just move the bass down to a B. Right?
That brings up a whole other thing too. Is where's your bottom at? What's the bass player doing, and where's your kick drum tune and all that stuff?
Listen to "God Only Knows" by the Beach Boys.
Oh my God! That's the song right there.
It's a D start. And with an A in the bass.
D over A, right?
B minor. dun dun. It's there, and then it goes down to the seventh in the
It's
bass.
like an F sharp minor,
Yeah.
minor six,
People in
F
the
sharp
chat
minor
room-
6, right?
People in the chat room are saying suspend third equals fifth, or D minor seventh, suspend third equals fifth.
Yeah, okay.
Forget all that.
Yeah.
Pay
But-
attention to what we're saying,
Yeah,
because this is
yeah,
good.
Yeah. Some of these don't have names. This is it's an A minor seventh chord, but it's not played like that. It doesn't have the E in it.
And you know what all this goes to in the end? It goes back to Susanna Doyle's question about somebody asked, how do I get the je ne sais quoi? It's by thinking about these details
It's the
when you're
vibe.
cutting.
It's the vibe.
It's the vibe.
You're cutting, when you're
It's the
cutting the
vibe.
track, so these things add up to making
Yeah.
it easier
Break
to nail
the
the
rules.
mix.
That's a broken rule, that
It's
thing.
the vibe.
And God only knows with the chord changes and that. Just Google the chord changes if you don't know
More
them
life
offhand.
size.
And
We've
what
got
a-
9 minutes left in the show.
No, we can go.
Wow.
It's your show. You can extend. There's no commercial break.
I
We're
got to
good.
go eat. Okay, so
That's right. We have barbecue in our future. Okay. Do you guys prefer taking a direct on a bass when recording a bass? Do you record direct, or with an amp, or just the amp?
Go ahead.
If it's me playing, I put it in direct into one of Aspen Pittman's old 8-tube preamps, and I put it in direct. But it's
Didn't
a
he
particular.
just pass away
He
recently?
did. Yeah, tragedy, horrible.
Like weeks ago,
Yeah,
right?
it's horrible. And he was the greatest guy. Oh, anyway, so I plug it in, and you can control the rise time of the tubes and all kinds of stuff.
Wow.
So to me, with the basses that I have, an old Rick and blah blah. Anyway, it's amazing, and they're so even. Now I've also used a plug-in on that too, bass cabinet plug-in.
Yeah.
But I think it's because I'm mostly lazy. I mean, I have all the stuff there, but I think I'm lazy.
How about you, Rob?
I mean, I've recorded basses in different ways. If it's me playing, and it's great that
Yeah.
you say that. If it's me playing, I tend to run it direct, and I run it into an LA3A.
Yeah, right. Me too. I run it into an LA3A and a DBX 160.
60. The two
Cool.
greatest limiters on the planet.
Yeah.
Rob and I talk
But
about this
I
endlessly.
do it tandem,
Mm.
and so, and this particular bass, you can just barely touch. It's just
When you say
phenomenal.
tandem, are you talking?
plug out
one?
of the LA2A into the DBX.
Wow. Okay.
No,
I mean,
I'm-
that's a common thing.
Yeah.
Right? Into one LA3A.
Right. I just
into
wanted to make
another.
sure he wasn't talking about
Yeah,
doing
no,
it parallel.
no.
We're talking about serial.
Two at the same time.
Okay.
But Nate, on the other hand, about 2 years ago, I was in Guitar Center, and I said, and we've been searching, for a good bass sound,
Mhm.
this retro thing, and I was in Guitar Center, and there was a good price on an old vintage flip top Ampeg amp,
Ampeg,
Wow.
yeah.
I'm like, if you don't, I know you've been asking me, this is it. If you don't come down here and buy it, I'm buying it, and he bought it, and
Did it
he's
sound
using
good?
it, and it sounds incredible.
So you've mic'd it. What do you mic it with?
Well, he's using it. I would mic if I had a 47. I'd use a 47
Yeah,
on the amp
okay.
like Paul did, but
Yeah.
or 67 is fine too.
I have the bass amplifier that McCartney used to use. It's a T160, T60, excuse
I
me,
don't
T60
Ampeg?
Vox
Oh.
T60, and it's a little upright amp. It's got a 12 and a 15 speaker in it, and it was a transistorized top, small top. It looks like just a little tiny miniature Beetle amp. Those are the big ones.
Yeah.
It's like a little one. And I got to tell you, I've played bass out of it. I never used it for bass. I used it for guitar. I used to use it on the Ozzy records and play the solos through it, crank it, and it sounded great. But the point is, you can see him on stage in Washington and various places at the beginning when
Mm.
that was the amp he used. I'm telling you, if it were right here, you could talk louder than it is.
Wow.
I don't know how it possibly could have worked in the cavern or anything. It's just
Interesting.
It's just not that loud. And Vox 8, these AC30s, a pretty loud amp.
Cranking.
So I don't know how it was, but that's what it was. That was the bass amp.
My old boss in New York, Howie Schwartz, you recorded there many, many years ago. he bought one of Jerry Garcia's old Ampeg flip-top bass amps, and actually the little plastic thing that came up and lit up said Jerry on it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
and I got to say, I used that thing on a number of occasions. It could not get a good sound out of it. I don't know. Maybe that's why Jerry didn't keep it. Next question is from Hermie Whitesbush. Which speakers do you prefer to mix on?
Oh.
Easy. NS10s.
Okay.
30 years and counting. Never going to change. Not a chance.
How about you?
I have NS10s driven by an old Mac tube amp, a 240 Mac tube amp, and they sound pretty good. I also have some Yamahas that I've been using a lot for some years that are powered speakers, and I'm used to them. And then I have some old Genelecs, the big Genelecs that people used to get. I have those too, and sometimes I'll listen to the Genelecs a little bit, but I never got onto them. I think that the easy answer is whatever you get onto.
Yep.
And get used to it and get to know it.
That's somehow, get used to it. And then you've got to understand how it translates outside of your environment.
Right.
Because if in your environment you're used to the bass sounding a certain way, as long as that way translates out of there, you're fine. But if coming to your place, it sounds like there's too much bass, and as a result, you shy off on the bass. When you take it somewhere else, you may be way undercutting the bass. So you got to understand your place and how it sounds in the world.
It's funny, people think that there's like a magic pair of speakers that will make their stuff sound glossy and wonderful. But some manufacturer, I can't remember the brand, but it's not an A brand. Somebody in the industry about 7 or 8 years ago sent me a pair of like baby NS10s. It's got a 6-inch, or no, actually a 4-inch woof in it.
Wow.
And a little tiny dome tweeter, and they sound reasonably good. It was actually made to put an iPod. It has a socket for an iPod in the top. They're self-powered, and it's like okay sounding. And I've got them on a desk in the loft in our house, and I've got the multi-track Eagles Take It Easy on my laptop, and I've done mixes of that on those monitors and taken it out and listened in my car and listened to it through a TV set and got to know what those, where their deficiencies were in those monitors. You could make a record on those things.
Yeah, you got to be intimate with your monitors. You really have to know what they do.
Yeah.
And one things I never liked were those little square ones. What were they called?
Oratones.
I was just going to talk about those.
Horror tones.
I never could figure it out.
No, So there's a very famous mixer that mixes the records on a mono Oratone.
Who? JJP?
I can't tell you.
Okay.
I can't tell you. But I swear to God it's true. And this record sound amazing. Don't ask me how. He just knows that speaker, you know?
It's amazing.
Not enough people use mono, by the way. I'm not saying they should mix their records in mono, but they should check stuff in mono. Nobody ever does that anymore.
I check it all the time.
Yeah, back in the day, man, consoles had a mono button, and you always checked everything in mono. It's amazing how much stuff would go away.
I do like the NS10s, though.
Yeah, all the mixers use NS10s. They all have.
Do you have tissue paper over the tweeter?
Nope.
You don't.
Kim wipes.
Wow.
Can't just use regular tissue paper.
No,
You got to use Kim wipes because they sound better.
I have tissue paper that's been there for 25, 30 years.
Those NS10s behind you are 30 years old. I've never blown them up. Okay, 2 more questions to go here. We are in the home stretch. This one is from Heath DeFug. Sorry, Keith. Heath. Heath wants to know, can either or both of you give me some advice on getting an artist to cut a song that they don't like, but I'm sure it's a hit for them? That's a great question.
It's so unbelievably frustrating because
this is great.
You have no idea. I mean, not only has it happened once to me, it's happened 2, 3, 4, 5 times.
Right, you hear something, it's a hit for that artist, you can't get them to fall in love with it.
But it went on and became a hit.
Interesting.
It wasn't a question.
Did you rub it in their face?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I have.
So how'd you get them to cut it?
They never cut it.
Oh, it went on to be a hit for somebody else. That's even better.
Here's the perfect story. I'll tell you just one.
Okay.
So, a very, very important dear friend of mine from when I was like 15, 16, was with us at MGM and so forth. He's down in Memphis at Sounds of Memphis.
Okay.
Right? And he sends me a song written by George Jackson, who wrote One Bad Apple for the Osmonds. So he says, George, who wrote One Bad Apple, he wrote this song. What do you think? And I said, gee, you should do it with, and I'm not going to name the artist because I don't want to embarrass anybody, but this was like in the, I don't know, late 70s or something. Huge artist. And it was perfect for them. Just perfect. He wanted to be a little edgier and so forth. It was perfect. And I said, it's perfect, but the lyric has to be changed. It's not quite right. Let me, if it's okay, I don't want any credit, just let me rewrite the lyric so that it works for this artist. And I'll do a new demo, and let me try, because I think it's great. Okay, so I do all of that. He hates it. I said, I really think this is exactly what you're talking about, what you need. It's going to be great, blah, blah, blah. He hates it. This goes on for not several weeks, but a handful of weeks, because we were coming up to record. You should do this song. I don't want to do this song. Okay. So I call my friend back, and I said, I did everything I can. I'm so sorry. I just don't understand it. It's ideal for him. I really didn't understand it. And he says, well, can I use your demo? I want to pitch it. Sure, absolutely. Here's the, the lyric, no email then. I mailed him the lyric, and here it is. I sent him the thing. Okay, what's the song? He takes her old records off the shelf.
Oh, my God.
And, I mean, that song would have lived forever, right, with my artist doing it. And I was so sad about that because it was, and they just used my changes. Now, it doesn't make me bright or anything like that. I did it because I thought that would be more perfect for my guy, right? But as it turned out, it was also okay for Bob Seger.
Sure was.
He did okay with it.
Yeah, and it's in the Sound of Memphis book and all. I mean, they have like a, thing about it, and I it's just.
Well, you're gonna love this one, Mike.
All right.
So I was working with a major artist, not to be named, and I had this song, and my assistant gave it to me on a cassette. And I always remember when I hear the hits where I was in the moment. I can tell you I was in my car driving on the 101 North, and I heard it, and I called the artist. I said, I have your number one hit. We go in this. We put it on hold. In those days, you could put a whole song on hold for a period
I think
of
you
time.
still can, at least in Nashville.
Yeah, they got to call 11 people.
We cut the song, and she said, I don't know, Boo. I think it needs a bridge. And I said, hey, it doesn't need a thing. Dragging the feet, and then the hold goes off the song, and you guys got the song, and it was "I Need You" for LeAnn.
Oh, really? Wow, that was great. Wow.
When I heard that lyric,
wow.
I went crazy. I got on the phone. I said, "This is your number one," and of course, it ended up being a.
What is it? I need you like
water, like breath, like rain.
Yeah.
I need you like mercy.
Where did the song come from?
Heaven's Gate. My assistant gave it to me, and he got it from the songwriter. Because my assistant knew I was doing the record.
And by the way, you did some stuff with LeAnn.
Mm-hmm.
So we're very grateful.
Oh, I'm grateful.
Do you know that my former business partner, Jaime, many, many years ago, came to me with a video of this 10-year-old girl at a county fair somewhere in Texas singing her butt off. And he said, I think we should give this girl a membership. She's really talented. I said, she's 10 years old. It's years before she's going to get signed. It was LeAnn Rimes.
It wasn't too many years.
She was 13 when she got signed.
Turned down everywhere. She was around. I mean, she was around.
She worked. Classic example of working your butt off for a long period of time until luck happens.
Bruno Mars, same thing.
Yeah.
Everybody's grinds it out.
I'll tell you but LeAnn was very unusual. She was, when we got her, about 13, I think, and she was, she was taller. She wasn't like a little girl. Yeah. She had a voice like she was 25 or 30 or something. I mean, she had Patsy Cline kind of voice. She's God-given voice. I mean, just incredible. I saw her at the American Music Awards where she sang at this first thing that she was doing. Yeah. And oh my gosh, I mean the crowd went crazy. It was just one of those undeniable things, like Reba McEntire. I remember at an American Music Awards some point, this is years ago, and there were a bunch of hip hop artists at the time that came out, or rap artists, and what they were doing their thing. And, there was a lot of people on stage and, production numbers and stuff, really great. She came out on stage in this red sequined dress.
Reba.
Yeah. And just stood there and sang whatever her hit was at the time, and mesmerized everybody, and it was just one person on stage with that thing. And it doesn't mean that the other people that had the production numbers weren't good. They're just different. Right, it was just different. But for one person to hold the stage like that, oh my gosh.
That's a gift, and very few people have it. Gentlemen.
You have it. You hold the taxi stage.
That's right.
You do indeed.
You guys.
Great crowd rally this year.
Yeah, it was great. Hey, everybody,
thank you.
come next year to the rally. Rob and I will be there.
Yes.
God
As
willing.
will I.
and apparently Michael will too.
Yes, I will.
And by the way, he's preparing for it now.
Yes.
We already started. We did.
Yeah.
About 4 days after this year's
Yeah.
rally, we all crowded into Angel's office, and we did a couple hours of what we could have done better, what we could refine for next year. And I've already started my list of potential panel topics for next year.
Oh, good.
And I will let them marinate for a year.
That's my body of work.
Where did I do it? Here we go. Oh,
And by
no,
the
that-
way, everybody, your staff, the whole thing,
Oh.
man, everybody was amazing.
They were
so.
amazing. And that contributed to that vibe that I mentioned at the beginning of everybody having a comfortable time. I think it was great. What does it say? Goodbye?
Subscribe. And don't forget, click that little bell sucker up there in the upper right-hand corner
What
so
does
you
that
get
do?
you get alerts when we're gonna have a
Oh.
show.
Okay.
Now, do you have to be a member to see this?
No, anybody in the world can see this,
Wow.
and millions of people are watching right now.
Wow.
Millions.
I'm
Minus
knowing.
minus
Yeah,
999,000.
just a wrong number.
Yeah.
Fewer zeros.
Okay, so, well, there you have it. These are my notes. I'm going to read my notes. There you have it. You learned a bunch of great stuff from these two incredibly talented producers, which you guys are. If you have any follow-up questions, please post them in the comments below, and I will beg them to give me some answers that we can answer your questions. Comments below the video, like right below where that picture. You
Please do it, because we really enjoy him begging.
That's true. Next week's show, somebody just informed me right before this show started that they can't do next week. So something I've wanted to do, and I haven't done for probably 3 or 4 months now, is I would love to do a split screen live interview with a taxi member from anywhere. All I ask is that you have a really good internet connection so that we don't get flaky, glitchy stuff. And send an email to taxitv@taxi.com. That's taxitv, easy to spell, at taxi.com. And say, in the subject line, say, guest for next week's show. And send us a paragraph why you would be a great guest and some potential things we could talk to you about. And I look forward to reading all of
Cool,
those.
that's cool.
If you'd like to post those in the comments section below the video, we'll check there for potential guests for next week. Happy Thanksgiving to all of you who live in the United States. Rob, thank you very much, buddy. Good
Thanks
to
for
see you.
having me.
Michael,
Thank you.
thank you as always for driving over the hill.
And we are the three amigos.
Three wild and crazy guys.
Wild and crazy guys.
We are going out for barbecue. See you guys next week for another exciting episode of Taxi TV Live. Yeah, baby. Woo!